My amazing viewers, this video is the complete story of Zara and Maya. Have combined both parts, 1 and 2, into a single video for your better experience, and for the new viewers. I hope you enjoy the story. Kindly subscribe to the channel and let's get started. Maya Johnson lay on a thin hospital bed in the emergency room at Grady Hospital in Atlanta. Sweat rolled down her forehead, her body felt heavy, and her skin burned with fever. The white bedsheet was damp, and her breathing was quick and shallow. She held her phone close to her ear with trembling hands, her voice weak but determined to speak clearly. "Hello, I'm so sorry," Maya said, her voice shaking. "I've been preparing for this interview, but I'm very sick. I'm in the hospital right now. Please, I truly want to come." A cold voice cut her off on the other end of the line. "Ma'am, we do not reschedule interviews. If you are not here at the exact time, your application will be cancelled. Thank you." Blick. The call ended. Maya slowly lowered the phone, her arm dropping to the side like all her strength had left her. She stared up at the fluorescent lights, blinking back tears. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Please don't take this chance away from me. My daughter. She deserves a better life." In the corner of the room, a little girl sat quietly on a plastic chair. Her name was Zara. She was 5 years old with big brown eyes and beautiful cornrow braids adorned with colorful beads. Her feet swung above the floor as she watched her mother. She didn't speak, she just sat still, her small hands folded in her lap. She had seen her mother work 3 jobs, suffer through long nights, and hope for something better. Now she was watching her cry, and she knew she had to do something. The sky outside was still a soft gray when Zara opened her eyes. The hospital room was quiet. Her mother lay asleep, her face pale, lips dry, and skin hot from the fever. The 4 drip clicked gently beside the bed. Zara slipped off the plastic chair without making a sound. She walked to the bedside and stood on her tiptoes. With one small hand, she carefully moved a strand of hair from her mother's forehead. "Mama," she whispered softly, "you need to rest now." She looked at the worn leather purse beside the bed, the one her mother never let out of her sight. Slowly, she unzipped it and pulled out the manila folder inside. The résumé was still clean and crisp, printed on good paper that her mother had saved money to buy. She held it tight in both hands like a treasure. She walked to the corner where her clothes were folded in a small plastic bag. She chose her favorite outfit, a bright Sunday dress with purple, gold, and red patterns that her grandmother had sent from Mississippi. Her mother had pressed it carefully the night before the interview. She put it on with care, then looked at her small patent leather shoes, worn but still shining. She slid her feet into them. The folder looked big in her tiny hands, but she hugged it close to her chest. Zara walked to the door, looked back one last time at her mother, then stepped out into the hallway. Zara stood at the MARTA bus stop just outside Grady Hospital. The morning rush hour was beginning. Cars honked, people hurried past with coffee cups, and the Atlanta skyline gleamed in the distance. But she didn't flinch. She looked down at the paper she had taken from the refrigerator at home last week, a colorful flyer with a picture of a tall glass building. It had the company's name on it, Thompson Industries, and right beside it was a route number her mother had circled in red ink, Route 21. Zara waited until she saw the MARTA bus with the matching number. The blue and white bus pulled up with a hiss of brakes, and people rushed to board. A kind older woman with silver hair noticed her struggling to climb up. "Where are you going, baby girl?" the woman asked, smiling warmly. "To the big glass building," Zara said, hugging the folder tightly. "My mama is supposed to have a job there." The woman's eyes softened. "Well then, sit right here next to me. I'll tell you when to get off." Zara sat quietly, her feet swinging above the floor of the bus. She held the folder like it was magic, like it could fix everything. Around her, Atlanta buzzed with life. The radio played gospel music, people talked on their phones, and the city rolled by outside the windows. But in her heart she felt calm. She had a mission. About 45 minutes later, the woman tapped her gently. "Your stop, little one." "There it is." Zara stepped off the bus and looked up. In front of her stood the tallest building she had ever seen, a gleaming tower of glass and steel reaching toward the clouds. The morning sun reflected off its surface like diamonds. She took a deep breath, straightened her dress, and walked toward the revolving doors. The front doors of Thompson Industries opened with a soft whoosh as Zara stepped inside. The lobby was magnificent. Marble floors so shiny she could see her reflection, crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, and fresh flowers on every table. Behind a large curved desk sat a young black woman with natural hair styled in a beautiful twist-out and gold hoop earrings. Her name tag read Jasmine. Jasmine was busy typing when a small shadow appeared at her desk. She looked up and blinked. Standing in front of her was a little girl in a bright Sunday dress, holding a manila folder almost half her size. Jasmine leaned forward gently. "Hello, sweetheart. Are you lost?" Zara shook her head firmly. "No, ma'am. I'm here for the interview." Jasmine blinked again. "An interview?" "Yes, ma'am," Zara said, standing straighter. "It's my mama's interview. She's very sick and couldn't come, but she really needs this job. So I came instead." For a moment, Jasmine didn't know what to say. People in the lobby had slowed down, watching the scene. 2 security guards began to move closer, frowning. Jasmine quickly raised a hand toward them. "No, it's okay," she said, then turned back to the little girl. "What's your mama's name, baby?" "Maya Johnson," Zara replied clearly. Jasmine checked her computer. Yes, she was scheduled for 9 a.m. today. She took a slow breath, then pressed a button on her earpiece. "Mr. Thompson, please come down to the lobby." "No, don't ask questions. Just tell him he needs to see this. It's important." She looked down at Zara and smiled softly. "You're very brave, little one." Zara smiled back, clutching the folder tighter. On the top floor of Thompson Industries, Mr. Marcus Thompson stood beside a large floor-to-ceiling window overlooking downtown Atlanta. He was tall, dark-skinned, and sharply dressed in a charcoal gray suit. Only 32 years old, he was already one of the most respected CEOs in the city. People said he was brilliant but cold, that he didn't smile much, didn't waste time, and cared only about results. He had built his company from nothing, and every decision was calculated for success. His assistant entered quietly. "Sir, about the 9 a.m. interview candidate. You might want to handle this one yourself." Marcus frowned, not looking away from the window. "I thought I said I wasn't to be disturbed today." "I know, sir," she said carefully. "But this is different. Please just come downstairs." With a sigh, Marcus straightened his tie and stepped into the elevator. The ride down was silent. He expected another desperate applicant or some kind of scheduling mistake. But when the elevator doors opened, he stopped. Right in the middle of the lobby stood a tiny girl in a colorful dress, holding a folder almost as wide as her chest. Her back was straight, her eyes were steady, and she radiated a quiet confidence that filled the room. She turned and looked up at him. "Are you the boss?" "I am," he replied slowly. Zara stepped forward and handed him the folder with both hands. "This is my mama's. She was supposed to come, but she's very sick. So I came instead." Marcus raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. "Why would you do that?" She lifted her chin, her voice clear and strong. "Because Mama deserves more than just surviving." The words hit him like a quiet thunder. He looked down at the folder, then back at the child. Around them, the whole lobby had gone silent. Marcus took a long breath, then turned to Jasmine. "Cancel my next meeting, sir." He didn't repeat himself. Then he looked at Zara and gave the smallest nod. "Come with me." She smiled, the first real smile he'd seen in his office building in months, and followed him down the hallway. The conference room was large, modern, and intimidating. A long glass table stretched across the center with high-backed leather chairs on both sides. Marcus pulled out a chair for Zara. It was too tall for her, but she climbed up with quiet confidence and sat straight, her small legs swinging above the floor. He sat across from her, placing the folder gently on the table. For a moment, he just looked at her, this small girl who had walked into a world meant for adults and handled it with more grace than most of his business partners. "So, Zara," he said, his voice softer than before, "can you tell me why your mother wants this job?" Zara didn't rush. She placed her tiny hands on the edge of the table and thought for a moment. "Mama works all the time," she began. "She cleans office buildings at night, she serves food at the diner during the day, and she does people's hair on weekends. She never gets to rest." Marcus nodded slowly, listening. "She doesn't buy anything for herself," Zara continued. "Even when her shoes get holes, she says, 'These ones are still good,' and then she buys me new ones instead." Marcus glanced down at Zara's shining patent leather shoes. He didn't say anything, but something in his expression softened. "She used to go to college," Zara said quietly. "She showed me her books once. She told me she loved learning about business, but when she had me, she had to stop everything to take care of me." Marcus's eyes didn't leave her face. "She told me one night," Zara said, almost whispering, "that she's tired of just surviving. She wants to use her brain again. She wants a job where people see how smart she really is." The room fell completely silent. Marcus leaned back in his chair. No resume had ever spoken to him like this. No interview had ever moved him the way this child's simple truth just had. "She practices her interview answers in the mirror," Zara added. "She bought this folder with her last $20 because she said presentation matters. And she told me that if she got this job, maybe one day I could go to college too, and I wouldn't have to worry about money." Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them and looked at this remarkable little girl. "Zara," he said quietly, "what do you want to be when you grow up?" She smiled. "I want to be like Mama. Strong and smart and never giving up." After Zara left the conference room with Jasmine, Marcus remained seated. The folder was still open in front of him, and he finally looked down at the neatly typed words on the resume. The name at the top read, Maya Johnson. She had studied business administration at Georgia State University. Full academic scholarship. Dean's List. President of the Black Student Business Association. Peer mentor. Community volunteer. Marcus raised an eyebrow. She had been sharp, driven, full of promise. Then suddenly the timeline of success stopped. No graduation. No internship. Instead, the next section read, Customer Service Representative, Night Custodian, Waitress, Hair Stylist. He stared at it, slowly tracing the timeline with his finger. The story was clear without being told. A young woman with a bright future, suddenly forced to choose survival over dreams. Marcus leaned back in his chair, silent. He had read thousands of resumes in his life, most full of impressive words and empty achievements. But this was real. This was a life interrupted by love and responsibility, not by failure or lack of ambition. He closed the folder slowly. Something inside his chest, something that had been cold and closed for years, began to warm. That afternoon, a delivery van pulled up outside Grady Hospital. A nurse brought a beautiful arrangement into Maya's room and placed it on the bedside table. Maya stirred slowly, still weak from the fever. Her eyes opened halfway, then widened when she saw it. A gorgeous bouquet of sunflowers, roses, and baby's breath in a crystal vase. Next to it was a small gift box wrapped in cream-colored paper, and a note leaned against it. Her hands trembled as she reached for the card. The handwriting was neat and professional. To the strongest woman I've yet to meet. Your daughter is remarkable. Marcus Thompson. Inside the box was a small carton of chocolate milk, Zara's favorite, and a note that read, "For a very brave little girl." Maya sat up quickly, her heart racing. "Zara," she whispered, her eyes darting around the room. The plastic chair was empty. Panic filled her chest. She grabbed her phone and quickly found the number on the company flyer. Her fingers shook as she dialed. "Thompson Industries, this is Jasmine speaking." "Please," Maya said quickly. "This is Maya Johnson. I think my daughter may have come to your office today. She's only 5. I'm so sorry." Jasmine chuckled softly. "Don't worry, Miss Johnson. Your daughter is safe. She's right here coloring in Mr. Thompson's office." Maya's throat tightened. "I don't understand. In fact," Jasmine continued warmly, "she may have just earned you a second chance." Maya said nothing. She was too stunned to speak. "Mr. Thompson would like to invite you for a formal interview tomorrow at 10 a.m. Are you feeling well enough to come in?" Maya looked at the flowers, at the note, at the chocolate milk. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll be there." The next morning Maya's fever had broken, but her body still felt weak. Even so, she didn't hesitate. She showered carefully, then put on her best outfit, a navy blue skirtsuit that she had bought at a thrift store and had tailored to fit perfectly. She brushed her hair back into a professional bun and applied her makeup with steady hands. Zara held her hand as they stood outside the glass doors of Thompson Industries. "You're going to do great, Mama," the little girl whispered. Maya smiled, fighting back tears. "Because of you, my love." Inside the building, Jasmine greeted her with a warm smile. "Miss Johnson, welcome. Mr. Thompson is expecting you." Maya followed her through quiet hallways, her heart pounding with every step. When the door to the executive office opened, Marcus Thompson stood by his desk. He looked different this time, less intimidating, more human. He stepped forward, offering a firm handshake. "Miss Johnson, I'm glad you're feeling better." "Thank you, sir," Maya said softly. Marcus smiled gently. "Your daughter gave the most powerful interview I've seen in all my years here." Maya looked down, her cheeks warming. "Now," Marcus said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk, "I'd like to hear from you." Maya nodded, sat down, and opened her folder. This time she would speak for herself. 2 weeks later, Maya Johnson walked into Thompson Industries as a marketing associate. It wasn't a senior role, no big title, but it was a beginning. Some staff gave her polite smiles. Others whispered behind her back, "That's the woman with the child. She's only here because the CEO feels sorry for her." But Maya didn't let it break her. She arrived early, before the office even filled. She stayed late, long after others had gone home. She read every document she was given, took detailed notes in meetings, and watched the senior team closely. How they spoke, how they moved, how they thought. She didn't ask for special treatment. She just worked quietly, faithfully. And when she made mistakes, because she did, she apologized, corrected them, and never repeated them. One day, when she stayed late finishing a report, a sandwich quietly appeared on her desk. No note, but she knew who had sent it. On another day, when she called to say she'd be late because Zara had a fever, Marcus's text was short and kind. "Family first. Take your time." He didn't hover. He didn't make her feel like charity. He simply supported her, and in that quiet, steady space, Maya began to grow. Not just in the job, but in the belief that maybe, just maybe, she belonged. Every Friday after school, a little burst of joy entered Thompson Industries. Her name was Zara, and she came with her small backpack, coloring books, and a bright smile that could light up the entire lobby. The security guards waved her in like she was royalty. Jasmine kept her favorite apple juice cold in the office refrigerator. By now, she had her own special spot in Marcus's office. A small cushion by the window, a box of crayons, and a tiny desk just her size. She would sit quietly while her mother finished work, humming softly and drawing pictures of families, houses, and dreams. Marcus sometimes paused his phone calls just to see what she had created. One time, she drew a picture of 3 people holding hands under a rainbow and labeled it, "My Family." She gave it to Marcus, who hung it on his office wall next to his business awards. The staff got used to her presence. In fact, they started to love it. They called her Little Boss. She waved at everyone in the hallway, shared her animal crackers, and once reminded the finance manager to eat lunch, because Mama says grown-ups forget to take care of themselves. She didn't know it, but her quiet joy brought life to the office. And to Marcus, she brought something he hadn't felt in years, peace. It was a quiet Friday evening. Most of the staff had gone home, the office lights were dimmed, and the Atlanta skyline glowed with the orange sunset. In one of the conference rooms, Maya and Marcus sat side by side, reviewing slides for an upcoming presentation. Zara sat in the corner, curled up with a small blanket and her juice box, coloring silently. They worked in comfortable silence, occasionally sharing a smile or a quiet joke. Then, just as Maya stood to pack her bag, a small voice broke the air. "Mama!" Maya turned. "Yes, baby." Zara looked up, her eyes big and serious. "Can I call Uncle Marcus Daddy?" The room went completely still. Maya's hands froze mid-air. Marcus's pen stopped moving. The only sound was the hum of the air conditioning. Zara continued softly. "He always picks me up when I'm sad. He brings me juice boxes. He helps me with my homework. He reads me stories. And he makes you smile, Mama. He makes you smile the way daddies are supposed to." Maya's throat tightened. She turned to Marcus, afraid of what she might see in his face. But he was already walking toward them. He knelt down beside Zara and gently placed his hand on her small shoulder. His voice was low, a little shaky. "It would be my honor, little one." Maya wept as Marcus gently embraced Zara. Her tears weren't from pain this time, but from something softer, deeper, love. She had fought so long, so hard without help. And now here stood a man who had once been cold, now choosing her child like his own. Something in Maya finally released. The walls she had built around her heart began to crumble. 6 months later, at Thompson Industries' annual Christmas party, the office sparkled with lights, music, and laughter. Maya stood in a beautiful emerald green dress, glowing beside the Christmas tree. Zara twirled in silver shoes, her cream-colored dress catching the lights as she spun. Marcus watched from across the room, no spreadsheets in his hands for once, just a quiet peace in his eyes. Later, someone tapped a glass. Marcus stepped to the microphone. "Usually, I talk about profits and projections," he began, his voice carrying across the room. "But tonight, I want to share a different kind of story." He told the room about the tiny girl who came to the lobby with a folder twice her size. How she spoke with wisdom beyond her years. How her love and courage brought one of the company's best employees to Thompson Industries. He lifted his glass. "To Maya Johnson, who has exceeded every expectation. And to Zara, who believed in her mama before the rest of us did." He looked directly at them, his voice growing softer. "Family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about choice. Sometimes it's about love showing up in the smallest shoes." The room erupted in applause. Under the golden lights, they stood together, mother, daughter, and the man who had quietly chosen them both. In a city of traffic and closed doors, one little girl had walked in holding only her mother's dream. No one expected her to change everything, but she kept going. She didn't just carry a folder. She carried truth, love, and unshakable faith. Because of her, a mother was seen. A door opened. Future began. And love found its way home. Quietly. Powerfully. Completely. Sometimes the bravest feet wear the smallest shoes. And the strongest love doesn't shout, it shows up. 18 months had passed since little Zara walked into Thompson Industries with her mother's dreams tucked under her arm. The Atlanta skyline looked the same through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but everything else had changed. Maya Johnson now sat in her own office on the 15th floor, her nameplate reading Marketing Director. Her desk was organized with family photos, Zara's school pictures, snapshots of weekend adventures, and one special photo of the three of them at Stone Mountain, looking like the family they had become. She had earned this promotion through sleepless nights, brilliant campaigns, and the respect of colleagues who had once whispered behind her back. Now they came to her for advice. In the corner of her office, Zara, now 7 years old and even more spirited, sat at her own small desk, homework spread out before her. She had grown taller, her cornrows now adorned with gold and silver beads that caught the afternoon light. "Mama, what's a hostile takeover?" Zara asked, looking up from her math homework. Maya's pen froze. "Where did you hear that, baby?" The grown-ups in the elevator were talking about it. They said someone's trying to take Daddy Marcus's company. Maya's heart clenched. She had been trying to shield Zara from the storm that was brewing around Thompson Industries. "Don't worry about grown-up business, sweetheart. Focus on your homework." But even as she said it, Maya felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her shoulders. The boardroom on the 30th floor was tense. Marcus Thompson sat at the head of the mahogany table, his expression stern as he faced 12 board members. The city lights of Atlanta twinkled below, but the atmosphere inside was anything but peaceful. "The offer from Mitchell Holdings is substantial," said board member Patricia Wells, sliding a document across the table. "James Mitchell is offering 30% above market value for a controlling stake." Marcus didn't touch the document. "Thompson Industries is not for sale." "Marcus, be reasonable," said another board member, Robert Hayes. "Mitchell has a point. Since you've been distracted by personal matters, our quarterly numbers have been inconsistent." Distracted? Marcus's voice was dangerously quiet. "Your relationship with Ms. Johnson," Patricia continued carefully. "People are talking. They're saying you've lost your edge, that you're making decisions based on emotion rather than business sense." Marcus stood slowly, his hands flat on the table. "Maya Johnson is the most talented marketing director this company has ever had. She's increased our client retention by 40% and brought in 3 major accounts this quarter alone." "That's not the point," Robert said. "The perception is that she's here because of your personal relationship. It's affecting company morale and investor confidence." Marcus's jaw tightened. "This meeting is over." As the board members filed out, whispering among themselves, Marcus remained standing by the window. He had built this company from nothing, but now he felt like everything he had worked for was slipping away. 3 blocks away, in the elegant sitting room of a Buckhead mansion, Victoria Thompson sat sipping tea from fine china. At 62, she was still striking, silver hair perfectly styled, wearing a cream-colored St. John suit that cost more than most people's monthly salary. She had been watching the news about her son's company with growing concern. Not concern for Marcus. She had barely spoken to him since he was 18. But concern for the family name, the family reputation, and the family fortune. Victoria had left Marcus and his father when Marcus was just a boy, choosing her wealthy second husband over the struggle of raising a child. She had built a new life in New York society, far from the pain of her past mistakes. But now, seeing her son's picture in the business magazines, linked romantically with a single mother from a working-class background, she felt compelled to act. She picked up her phone and dialed her private investigator. "Robert, I need everything you can find on Maya Johnson. Employment history, financial records, family background." "Everything." "Yes, ma'am." "May I ask why?" Victoria's smile was cold. Because sometimes love needs a reality check. At Zara School, Garden Hills Elementary, the afternoon pickup line was its usual chaos of parents, nannies and carpools. Maya pulled up in her reliable Honda Civic, windows down, listening to gospel music. She waved at Zara, who came running with her backpack bouncing and her face bright with excitement. "Mama, guess what? I got 100 on my spelling test. That's my brilliant girl." Maya hugged her tight. "Daddy Marcus is going to be so proud." As they drove home, Zara chattered about her day, but Maya's mind was elsewhere. She had noticed the whispers at work, the way some colleagues looked at her differently now. She had worked twice as hard as anyone else to prove herself, but the shadow of doubt was always there. Was she really good enough? Or was she just Marcus's girlfriend playing dress-up in a world where she didn't belong? That evening, Marcus arrived at Maya's apartment in the West End looking exhausted. It was a cozy 2-bedroom place that Maya had decorated with warmth and love. Family photos, Zara's artwork on the refrigerator, and the scent of dinner cooking on the stove. "Daddy Marcus." Zara launched herself into his arms. "Look what I made you." She handed him a drawing of a tall man in a suit standing next to a woman and a little girl. Above them, she had written "My family" in careful second-grade letters. Marcus's heart melted, the stress of the day momentarily forgotten. "This is beautiful, little one. Should we hang it in my office?" "Yes. Right next to your important papers." Maya watched from the kitchen doorway, her heart full. This was what mattered. This was real. After dinner, when Zara was asleep, Maya and Marcus sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder. "How was your day?" she asked softly. Marcus hesitated. He didn't want to burden her with the company's problems, but he also couldn't lie to her. "Challenging," he said finally. "Mitchell Holdings is being aggressive. The board is concerned." Maya lifted her head to look at him. "About what?" "About us," he said quietly. "They think I'm distracted. That my feelings for you are affecting my business judgment." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "And what do you think?" Marcus cupped her face gently. "I think you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Plus, and I'm not going to let anyone make me feel ashamed of that." But even as he said the words, Maya could see the worry in his eyes. She was becoming a liability to the man she loved. The next morning, Maya arrived at work to find an elegant woman in the lobby, clearly out of place among the usual business crowd. The woman was studying the company directory with intense focus. "May I help you?" Jasmine asked from the reception desk. "I'm looking for Maya Johnson," Victoria said, her voice carrying the authority of old money and social position. "Do you have an appointment?" Victoria's smile was sharp. "I'm Marcus Thompson's mother. I think that's appointment enough." Jasmine's eyes widened. In all the years she had worked here, Marcus had never mentioned his mother. She pressed the intercom button. "Miss Johnson, there's someone here to see you." 20 minutes later, Maya sat across from Victoria in a coffee shop around the corner from Thompson Industries. Victoria studied her with calculating eyes, taking in every detail. The modest but professional outfit, the absence of expensive jewelry, the way Maya's hands showed she had once worked with them. "You're quite beautiful," Victoria said finally. "I can see why Marcus is smitten." "Thank you," Maya said carefully. "Though I'm not sure why you wanted to meet me." Victoria smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I wanted to meet the woman who's destroying my son's career." Maya's back straightened. "Excuse me." "Oh, don't pretend you don't know. Thompson Industries is under attack, and it's because Marcus is seen as weak, distracted, in love with a woman who doesn't belong in his world." "I've worked hard for everything I have," Maya said, her voice steady despite the anger building inside her. "I'm sure you have, dear. But hard work isn't enough, is it? You can't make yourself into something you're not. You can't change where you came from or what people think when they look at you. Victoria leaned forward. I know about you, Maya. I know about your mother who cleaned houses. I know about the jobs you worked before Marcus rescued you. I know about the apartment you live in, the car you drive, the world you come from. Maya's hands trembled slightly, but she didn't back down. And what world is that? The world of struggle. The world of not enough. The world that Marcus is trying to lift you out of, even as it pulls him down. Victoria reached into her purse and pulled out a check. This is for $200,000. Enough to start over anywhere you want. Enough to give your daughter a good education, a good life. All you have to do is disappear. Maya stared at the check, her mind reeling. $200,000. More money than she had ever seen in her life. Enough to secure Zara's future, to never worry about bills again. Why? She whispered. Because I love my son. And sometimes love means making the hard choices. Sometimes love means walking away. Victoria stood up, leaving the check on the table. You have 24 hours to decide. If you truly love Marcus, you'll do what's best for him, even if it breaks your heart. That night Maya couldn't sleep. She stood by her bedroom window, looking out at the city lights, Victoria's words echoing in her mind. Was she really holding Marcus back? Were her own insecurities and the whispers of others damaging the man she loved? She thought about Zara, sleeping peacefully in the next room. Her daughter had known stability for the first time in her life. She had a father figure who adored her, a beautiful school, a future full of possibilities. Was Maya being selfish by staying? Or would she be betraying everything she had taught Zara about never giving up? In the living room, Zara's drawing still hung on the refrigerator, the one of their family, happy and whole. Maya touched it gently, tears streaming down her face. The next morning, Maya called in sick to work. She spent the day looking at apartments in other cities, researching schools for Zara, trying to imagine a life without Marcus. When Zara came home from school, she found her mother packing boxes. Mama, what are you doing? Just organizing, baby. Nothing for you to worry about. But Zara was 7 now, and she was smart. She could see the sadness in her mother's eyes, the way Maya's hands shook as she folded clothes. Are we moving away from Daddy Marcus? Maya's composure cracked. She knelt down and pulled Zara into her arms. Would that make you sad, baby? Yes, Zara said, her voice fierce. He's my daddy. He loves us. Why would we leave him? Maya closed her eyes, holding her daughter tight. Sometimes, grown-ups have to make hard choices to protect the people they love. But Mama, Zara said, pulling back to look at her mother's face, you told me that when something is right, you fight for it. You don't run away. Out of the mouths of babes. That evening, Marcus arrived at Maya's apartment as usual, but something was different. Maya was quieter, more distant. When he tried to kiss her, she pulled away slightly. Maya, what's wrong? She couldn't tell him about his mother, about the check that was still sitting in her purse. Instead, she said, I've been thinking about us. About whether this is fair to you. Marcus's blood ran cold. What do you mean? Your company is in trouble, Marcus. Your board doesn't trust you. Maybe they're right. Maybe you are distracted. Maya, stop. He took her hands. Don't let them get in your head. What we have is real. Good. It's worth fighting for. But what if it's not enough? The words came out broken, filled with all her fears and insecurities. What if I'm not enough? Marcus cupped her face, his eyes intense. You are everything. You and Zara are everything. But as he held her, Maya wondered if love was enough to overcome the obstacles they faced. If it was enough to silence the voices that said she didn't belong. The next day, everything came to a head. Maya was in her office when her assistant knocked on the door. Miss Johnson. There's an emergency board meeting. Mr. Thompson requested that you attend. Maya's heart sank. She had a feeling she knew what this was about. The boardroom was packed when she arrived. Marcus sat at the head of the table, his face grim. James Mitchell, the corporate raider trying to take over Thompson Industries, sat on the opposite end with a smug smile. "Ah, Miss Johnson," Mitchell said as she entered. "Perfect timing. We were just discussing your unique qualifications." "James," Marcus warned, his voice dangerous. "Oh, come now, Marcus. Let's be honest about what's happening here." Mitchell stood up, addressing the room. "Thompson Industries has been bleeding money and talent for months. And why? Because our CEO is more interested in playing house than running a company." Maya felt every eye in the room turn to her. She wanted to disappear, to sink into the floor. "You're out of line," Marcus said, standing. "Am I? Let's look at the facts. Miss Johnson here was hired 18 months ago, despite having no relevant experience in corporate marketing. She's been promoted twice in record time. She has her own office, her own budget, and somehow, her daughter has the run of the executive floor." Mitchell's smile was cruel. "Face it, Marcus. You're a laughingstock. The business community is watching you make a fool of yourself over a woman who's clearly using you for financial security." The room erupted. Board members shouted over each other. Marcus looked ready to physically attack Mitchell. But Maya had heard enough. She stood up slowly, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You're right." The room fell silent. Marcus turned to her, his face stricken. "You're right," Maya repeated, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "I don't belong here. I never did." "Maya, no. I'm sorry," she said, looking directly at Marcus. "I'm sorry for making you choose between your company and your heart. I'm sorry for being a distraction. I'm sorry for not being enough." She walked out of the boardroom with her head held high, leaving behind the job she had worked so hard for, the life she had built, and the man she loved. That afternoon, Maya sat in her car outside Zara's school, her resignation letter on the passenger seat. She had cleaned out her office, said goodbye to Jasmine, and tried to ignore the pitying looks from her colleagues. Victoria's check was in her purse, along with a one-way plane ticket to Charlotte, North Carolina, where her sister lived. She had called the school to withdraw Zara, called the landlord to break her lease. It was over. When Zara got in the car, she immediately sensed something was wrong. "Mama, why are your eyes red?" "Just tired, baby. Listen, how would you feel about visiting Aunt Sarah in Charlotte?" Zara's face scrunched up. "For how long?" Maya couldn't answer. She started the car and drove home in silence, her heart breaking with every mile. That evening, as Maya packed their belongings, Zara sat on her bed watching. "Mama, I don't want to leave Daddy Marcus." "I know, baby. But sometimes." "No." Zara's voice was firm, startling in its intensity. "You're being scared again." Maya looked up, surprised. "What? When we lived in the old apartment, you were scared all the time. Scared about money, scared about jobs, scared about everything. Then we met Daddy Marcus, and you stopped being scared. You smiled more. You laughed more. You were happy." Zara climbed onto Maya's lap. "Now you're scared again. And it's making you do something dumb." "Zara, Daddy Marcus loves us. We love him. That's not scary. That's good." Maya held her daughter close, amazed by her wisdom. "Sometimes, baby, love isn't enough to fix everything. But it's enough to try," Zara said simply. The next morning was Saturday. Maya had planned to catch the noon flight to Charlotte, but Zara had other ideas. "I need to go to the office," she announced at breakfast. "Baby, Daddy Marcus isn't working today. He's always working on Saturday. He told me. And I need to tell him something important." Maya's heart ached. She couldn't deny her daughter this goodbye, even though it would destroy them both. An hour later they stood outside Thompson Industries. The building was quieter on weekends, with only essential staff and executives who couldn't let go of work. Marcus was indeed in his office, sitting behind his desk with his head in his hands. He looked up when they entered, his face lighting up before reality crashed back down. "Maya, I've been calling you. We need to talk." "I came to say goodbye," Maya said quietly. Marcus's face went pale. No, you don't get to do this. You don't get to run away." "I'm not running away. I'm setting you free." "I don't want to be free." His voice cracked. "I want you. I want our family. I want our life together." Zara had been listening quietly, but now she stepped forward. "Daddy Marcus, can I tell you something?" He knelt down to her level. "Of course, little one. Mama thinks she's not good enough for you. She thinks people are right when they say mean things about her." Marcus's eyes shot to Maya, who looked away. "But I know something those people don't know," Zara continued. "I know that before you, Mama cried every night. I know that she worked 3 jobs and still couldn't pay all the bills. I know that she used to look at me and worry that she was failing me." Zara's voice grew stronger. "And I know that when you came into our lives, everything changed. Not because you have money, not because you have a big office, but because you saw how special Mama really is." She turned to Maya. "Mama, remember what you told me when those girls at school were being mean? You said that other people's opinions don't change who you are. You said that when you know something is right, you fight for it." Maya was crying now, her defenses crumbling. "Well, this is right, Mama. We're a family. And families fight for each other." Suddenly the office door burst open. Jasmine rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. "Mr. Thompson, you need to see this." She held up her phone, showing a video that had been posted online. "It's from yesterday's board meeting. Someone recorded it." Maya's stomach dropped. The last thing she wanted was for their private pain to be made public. But as the video played, she realized it wasn't the confrontation with Mitchell that had gone viral. It was what happened after she left. The video showed Marcus standing in the boardroom, his voice clear and strong. "Let me be very clear about something," he said to the board. "Maya Johnson is not a distraction. She's not a charity case. She's the most talented marketing professional I've ever worked with. She's increased our revenue by 30%. She's brought in major clients through her creativity and hard work." The camera captured every word as Marcus continued. "And yes, I love her. I love her daughter. They are my family. And if you think that makes me weak, then you don't know what real strength looks like." He turned to Mitchell. "You want to know what's really destroying this company? It's not love. It's not family. It's people like you who think success means sacrificing everything good in your life." The video showed Marcus walking out of the boardroom, leaving stunned silence behind. "It's been shared over 1,000,000 times, Jasmine said, her voice filled with awe. "The comments are incredible. People are calling it the most romantic thing they've ever seen." But Maya wasn't looking at the phone. She was looking at Marcus, seeing the truth in his eyes. "You didn't fight for me," she whispered. "You fought for us." "Always," he said simply. The aftermath was swift. The viral video had turned public opinion in favor of Marcus and Thompson Industries. Major clients called to express their support. The board members who had questioned Marcus's leadership suddenly found themselves on the wrong side of history. James Mitchell's takeover attempt crumbled as investors pulled out, unwilling to be associated with someone who had been portrayed as heartless and calculating. But more importantly, Maya finally understood what Marcus had been trying to tell her all along. She was worthy of love. She was worthy of success. She was worthy of fighting for. 3 months later, on a beautiful October day, Thompson Industries hosted a very special event. The company's main conference room had been transformed with white flowers, soft music, and warm lighting. Maya stood at the front of the room in a simple but elegant ivory dress. Her hair swept up in a style that showed off the pearl earrings Marcus had given her. She looked radiant, confident, and completely herself. Marcus stood beside her in a perfectly tailored black suit, his eyes never leaving her face. He looked like a man who had found everything he had ever wanted. And between them, in a beautiful flower girl dress that she had picked out herself, stood Zara. Her hair was adorned with tiny white flowers, and her smile was bright enough to light up the entire room. "Do you, Marcus Thompson, take Maya Johnson to be your wife, to love and cherish, through all of life's challenges and joys?" "I do," Marcus said, his voice strong and sure. "Do you, Maya Johnson, take Marcus Thompson to be your husband, to support and encourage, through all of life's adventures?" Maya's voice was clear and confident. "I do." "And do you, Zara Johnson, accept Marcus as your father, to love and be loved by, as you become a family?" Zara's response was immediate and joyful. "I do. You do. I do." The room erupted in laughter and applause. Marcus knelt down and lifted Zara into his arms, then pulled Maya close. "I now pronounce you husband and wife and daughter. You may kiss your bride." As Marcus kissed Maya, Zara threw her arms around both of them. "We're a real family now." "We always were, little one," Marcus whispered. "We always were." The reception was held in the Thompson Industries lobby, the same place where Zara had first walked in with her mother's dreams. The space was decorated with lights and flowers, filled with employees, friends, and family. Victoria Thompson sat at a corner table, watching her son dance with his new wife and daughter. She had flown in from New York that morning, uninvited but not unwelcome. After the ceremony, she approached Maya quietly. "I owe you an apology," Victoria said, her voice softer than Maya had ever heard it. "You don't owe me anything," Maya replied graciously. "Yes, I do. I tried to destroy something beautiful because I was afraid. I was afraid that if Marcus loved you, it would mean he had forgiven me for leaving him. And I wasn't sure I deserved forgiveness." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "But watching him today, seeing how happy he is, I realize that love isn't about deserving. It's about choosing. And he chose well." She handed Maya a small wrapped box. "This was my mother's. I always planned to give it to Marcus's wife someday. I just never imagined she would be someone I would be so proud to call my daughter-in-law." Inside the box was a beautiful vintage necklace, simple but elegant. "Thank you," Maya said softly. "And Victoria. He's never stopped hoping you would come back into his life." Victoria smiled through her tears. "Maybe it's time I stopped running away from the people who love me." Later that evening, after the guests had gone home and the decorations had been packed away, Maya, Marcus, and Zara sat together in their new home, a beautiful house in Decatur with a big backyard and a tire swing that Marcus had installed just for Zara. "Mama, tell me the story again," Zara said, curled up between her parents on the couch. "Which story, baby?" "The story about how I saved our family." Maya and Marcus exchanged smiles. It had become Zara's favorite bedtime story, the tale of how a little girl with a big heart and even bigger courage had walked into a corporate office and changed 3 lives forever. "Once upon a time," Maya began, "there was a little girl who loved her mama so much that she was willing to do anything to help her." As Maya told the story, Marcus held them both close, marveling at how a single moment of courage had led to a lifetime of love. 5 years later, Marcus Thompson stood before a packed auditorium at Georgia State University, delivering the commencement address to the graduating class. In the audience, Maya sat with 8-year-old Zara and their new addition, 2-year-old Michael, who had his father's eyes and his mother's smile. "Life has a way of surprising us," Marcus told the graduates. "Sometimes the most important moments come in the smallest packages. Sometimes The greatest courage comes from the most unexpected places. He found Maya's face in the crowd and smiled. I learned that lesson from a 5-year-old girl who walked into my office one day and taught me that love isn't about deserving or earning. It's about showing up. It's about fighting for what matters. It's about believing that everyone deserves a chance to be seen for who they really are. The audience erupted in applause. In the front row, Zara stood up and waved at her father, her gap-toothed grin visible from across the room. After the ceremony, as the Thompson family walked across campus, Zara skipped ahead, her graduation cap, borrowed from one of the graduates, tilted at a jaunty angle. "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be like you," she called back to Marcus. "Like me?" Marcus laughed. "Why?" "Because you see people's hearts, not just their outside stuff." Maya slipped her hand into Marcus's, their wedding rings catching the afternoon sunlight. "She's right, you know. That's your superpower." "No," Marcus said, looking at his family. His wife, his daughter, his son. "My superpower is having the courage to love and be loved. And I learned that from both of you." As they walked toward their car, Zara suddenly stopped and pointed to a young woman sitting alone on a bench, crying over what looked like a rejection letter. "Daddy, she looks sad. Should we help her?" Marcus and Maya looked at each other and smiled. Their daughter's compassion, the trait that had brought them together, was still as strong as ever. "What do you think we should do?" Marcus asked. Zara thought for a moment, then walked over to the young woman. "Hi, I'm Zara. Are you okay?" And as Maya and Marcus watched their daughter offer kindness to a stranger, they knew that the legacy of love they were building would continue far beyond their own lives. Sometimes the smallest acts of courage change everything. Sometimes love shows up in the most unexpected ways. And sometimes the bravest feet really do wear the smallest shoes. In a world that often tells us we're not enough, Maya, Marcus, and Zara discovered that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about showing up. It's about fighting for what matters. Their story reminds us that families come in all shapes and sizes, that courage has no age limit, and that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply believe in each other. What started with a little girl's love for her mother became a testament to the transformative power of choosing to see the best in people, even when the world suggests otherwise. Love always finds a way. And sometimes it arrives in the smallest shoes.